So I feel honored to be here with all of you. Thank you very much. I feel a little odd because I'm always usually with my partner, Helen. We often finish each other's sentences and often dress alike. Today we didn't, but and we don't plan that. So let's see. We'll start out with really just to give you a little perspective of, no, that's going the wrong way. We wanted to go with, I guess we don't have that first slide, but that's okay. Just to give you perspective, it's a 5-year program. In 2013, there was a pilot at Cross School prior to Fran coming, and when Fran came on board, she was not really a fan of the pilots, and she wanted to go district-wide. So she worked on a vision and a mission statement and went through the theories of actions. And yeah, that's okay. I'll just quickly speak to it. And so in 2014-15, all the school administrators and the ruler teams were given coaching sessions because she felt we start with the adults. And often, Helen and I would always say as retired principals now, but at the time, we'd often hear what was happening in the district from our security guards and our custodians. So this way it is adult learning, and it was through the frame of ruler. In 2015, 2016, all 29 pre-K schools launched ruler. And in the high schools in 2016, January 2016, high schools came on board. And at that time also, one of the board members had said, we're not going to do this to just the teachers and students. It has to come on board with the parents. So we rolled out with the parents at that time. In 2016, 2017, which is where we're at, we're in phase 2. And all Bridgeport educators are receiving training on the Feeling Words curriculum. That will be completed in December. And they're quite excited. So we've been doing that in stages because you can't really pull everybody out of a building. So we've had to go through those 30 schools. And in October 2016, we were actually approached by Education First, and they looked at our district because what was innovative about us is that it was district-wide and that we had rolled out an SEL program. And they interviewed our teachers and principals and parents and community, and they visited us. They even attended one of our board meetings. The launch for that publication came out in October in Manhattan. And in November 2016, the first evaluation report, which we have on your tables, was published. And interestingly, one of the things across the lower and upper elementary school levels, behavioral regulation had the highest correlation with academic grades, even above the student-teacher trust. So that's our focus for this year and all that we do, because as a teacher, what you want to have in front of you is someone who's able to regulate themselves. And as students, they want to have an adult in front of them that's able to regulate themselves. So, let's see. And some of the highlights, well, I guess we went past the chat, it's in a different order. Okay, our challenges for this year are the long-term sustainability of the SEL initiative. And through that, we have a task force that meets regularly and that guides us in our program. We have co-facilitators to support the ruler implementation teams through network sessions and school visits. We have ruler implementation teams, since it's a trainer-trainer model, and they provide leadership in all their schools and work with the parents. And we have the Parent Center also that helps us on delivering that, and also BCAC and our community that help us with our parents. There's a ruler community website that's available to all stakeholders, developed by Yale. We wouldn't be able to do this, and the resources are immense with lesson plans and videos. We also have a consultant that helps us, Bonnie Brown, and if it wasn't for her, I don't think Helen and I would have been as far along as we are. We've trained all of our security guards this year, and we're going to be training all of our juvenile detention staff, because often they are the first person that deals with a child who's not being able to regulate themselves, and so they need to be speaking the same language. And this year we're also training all of our speech and language staff. We'll be doing that in December, and we're training all of our literacy coaches as well. And we have ruler workshops for community organizations. And our other challenge is changes in leadership. And Fran has made a choice, and so she is going to be leaving us, but with an interim superintendent, I'm sure soon to be announced at some point in time. Helen will no longer be my co-facilitator. She'll be leaving for parts unknown to enjoy retirement. And also Susan Rivers had left us last year. So those are significant challenges. And just to give you a couple of highlights that we're going to hear. We went into a pre-K classroom, and the child said, "We're in green, we're calm, we're having lunch." In a kindergarten classroom, in a therapeutic setting, a child that's not able to regulate in a neighborhood school, as we were talking to the adults when we came in to visit, the child got up, walked up to the toolbox, and took a strategy, walked over, sat on a very nice pillow, and started to read a book after they had turned over the plastic hourglass. He was able to self-regulate. In a first grade classroom, we walked into a room and we asked this little girl, how did you check in on the mood meter this morning? And she said, "I checked in on red." "Are you still in red?" "No." "Why?" "Because my teacher helped me." "Why were you in red this morning?" "Because my mother didn't wake me up." We went into a third grade classroom, and the teacher was teaching a lesson on character analysis using the ruler program and the mood meter. And she asked a student to come over and show Helen and I the mood meter. He gave us a lesson like you can't even imagine. Sorry, Yale, he outdid you. But the backstory on this child is he said, "I used to always be in red." And we asked him if he was in red all the time now, and he said no. And why? Because I saw that other friends were in red, and I was able to help them, and they were able to help me. In a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade setting, there were students that did not feel like they wanted to be vulnerable enough to check in on the mood meter. So they worked with their teacher to use Google Chromebooks and to check in anonymously. And in this one classroom, a student checked in on blue on Monday, blue on Tuesday, blue on Wednesday, and blue on Thursday. And that's low energy, unpleasant. And the teacher went to the clinical person, and she did some digging and found out there was something going on in that child's life. And so she was able to work with the family and that child. We went into a building where the principal had got on the loudspeaker and said, "Mrs. So-and-so is in red today." Now this is a principal who lives in green, low energy, pleasant. The students didn't know what to do. She said, "I don't want to stay there. I want to shift. So if you see me, can you give me some strategies so I can move to green and yellow?" And they did. They sent down notes. They saw her in the hallway, and she did shift. And she explained she was in red because she had a lot of deadlines. She didn't think she was going to be able to maintain. In a high school, the principal, walking down the hallway, saw one of his students that challenged him so much on a daily basis. He was standing in the hallway by himself. He walked up to him and he said, "Can I help you?" He said, "No, Mr. So-and-so, I'm taking a meta moment. I'll be okay." And the principal walked past. In another classroom, a teacher who was teaching first first grade, came running into her colleague's classroom during a break and said, "You have to help me. The students are saying they're in red and blue and green and yellow, and I don't even know. I haven't taught that to them." And she said, "Don't worry, we'll get you on board. We'll get you to the ruler implementation team, and we will help you." And the last one is a security guard was standing as we entered a building, Helen and I, and we watched him. He went up to a child and he said to the child, "Where are you on the mood meter?" And the child said, "I'm in blue." And the security guard said, "Do you want to stay there?" And he said, "No. What can I do to help?" And he alerted the teacher, and so that happened. So emotions do matter. So those are a few of our successes and highlights. And thank you very much.